Welcome to Thursday's edition of Everything Yesterday this morning. I am so glad to have you guys joining me today. Yesterday was kind of a weird news day as far as curating my content and stuff. I was getting notifications of things like overturned trucks of chicken nuggets and stuff. I think because I've been looking at food stuff so much that it's just sending me everything so I'm like, oh, this truck, you're not going to get your chicken nugs. It's a sad day. Okay, real talk. I'm going to move into today's subjects. Home prices increased nearly 20% in February compared to a year earlier. This was the third highest reading in the index's 35-year history. Gains of that magnitude may not continue for much longer, according to the managing director at Dow Jones Indices. He said, the post-COVID resumption of general economic activity has stoked inflation, and the Federal Reserve has begun to increase interest rates in response. We may soon begin to see the impact of increasing mortgage rates on home prices. The average 30-year fixed-rate mortgage hit 5.11% last week, surpassing the 5% for the first time in more than 10 years. Told you guys, if you were going to buy a house, you should have done it already. Billionaires are fighting with one another. Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk have competed over the past few years, not only for the title of the world's richest man, which is a title that Elon Musk currently holds with a net worth of $90 billion. They also compete in space, with Bezos' Blue Origin competing against Musk's SpaceX. Last year, in fact, the two companies fought over a $3 billion NASA contract, and in a statement, Musk told the New York Times columnist Kara Swisher, "You cannot sue your way to the moon." Bezos retweeted a reporter for the New York Times asking whether Musk's acquisition of Twitter meant that China would be gaining more influence over what he called the, quote, town square. The insinuation was that Musk, at least in part, is beholden to China because of Tesla's business there, which is somewhat of a valid point considering Tesla is currently building one of its gigafactories in Shanghai, and it is also the source of many of the important components that Tesla needs to build its vehicles. The problem is, and the thread heavily indicated it, Amazon is incredibly beholden to China as well. Even a large number of the Amazon Basics brand products are made in China. And what about Amazon complying with a requirement that it disable customer reviews in China for a book that Xi Jinping wrote that received a poor review? Perhaps sensing that he had lost the thread, Bezos replied to his own tweet an hour and a half later with, quote, "My own answer to this question is probably not." The more likely outcome in this regard is complexity in China for Tesla, rather than censorship at Twitter. Good recovery, bro. Bezos makes a good point, though. If Twitter does something to upset the Chinese government or refuses to do something to appease China, the country could retaliate against Tesla. So, it's an interesting little web that these billionaires weave for themselves. British Foreign Secretary Liz Truss warned China that failure to play by global rules would cut short its rise as a superpower, and said the West could ensure that Taiwan can defend itself. Renewing her call to boost NATO, Truss said moves to isolate Russia from the world economy in response to its invasion of Ukraine, provided that market access to democratic countries was no longer a given. Countries must play by the rules, and that includes China. Whose rules has China ever played by other than their own? Is this woman crazy? Britain, the world's sixth largest economy, is dwarfed economically and militarily by China, but believes that via soft power and strategic alliances, it can help persuade Beijing to play by the rules of a new, more dynamic international system. It's an interesting bit of language. Where have we heard that before? China's economic and military rise over the past 40 years is considered to be one of the most significant geopolitical events of recent times, alongside the 1991 fall of the Soviet Union, which ended the Cold War. But Truss said that its further rise was not inevitable. They will not continue to rise if they do not play by the rules. China needs trade with the G7. We, the group of seven, represent around half of the global economy, and we have choices. We have shown with Russia the kind of choices that we're prepared to make when international rules are violated. You've allowed them to rise up to this point and they have you dancing like puppets? What on earth could make you think that you can reverse course now? If you'll remember, earlier this month, Janet Yellen said China could persuade Russia to help end the war in Ukraine or face a loss of standing in the world. Oh, yes, because we have so much room to discuss a loss of standing in the world. Bernie Sanders has called for Biden to issue an executive order while, participating in a body that passes legislation to cut off federal contracts to Amazon.com until the e-commerce company stops what he describes as illegal anti-union activity. He said, "As you may know, Amazon, one of the world's largest and most profitable corporations in America, is the poster child as to why this anti-union busting executive order is needed now more than ever." I could do my Bernie Sanders impersonation, but it's horrible, so I'm not going to. Workers at an Amazon warehouse in New York City recently voted to form the first union at the second largest U.S. private employer. Amazon objected and accused the union of threatening workers unless they voted to organize, an allegation denied by the labor group. Amazon workers from more than 100 other U.S. worksites have expressed interest in unionizing. Sanders also raised concerns over Amazon's classification of its drivers as independent contractors rather than employees, which provides them with a narrower set of benefits while preventing them from forming a union. And he said, taxpayer dollars should not go to companies like Amazon and multi-billionaires like Jeff Bezos, who repeatedly break the law. To Biden directly, he said, "You promised to prevent union busters like Amazon from receiving lucrative contracts from the federal government. Keep that promise." So, I pose this question to my audience. How do you guys feel about unions? It's interesting because I think, when they were established, they served a very valid and viable purpose for the working man of the blue collar, middle class workers in society. I don't know. Sometimes Bernie Sanders makes sense to me. Sometimes he's insane. So I'd like to hear what you guys think about this. There has been no official change in designation by the World Health Order, but Anthony Fauci says the United States is now out of the pandemic phase. His direct quote is, "We are certainly, right now, in this country, out of the pandemic phase." Namely, we don't have 900,000 new infections a day and tens of thousands of hospitalizations and thousands of deaths. We are at a very low level right now. Fauci also noted that COVID will not be eradicated, but the use of vaccines can subdue the spread of the virus. To date, he says, 66% of the total population of the United States has been vaccinated, and about half of that group has been boosted. If you add up the people who have been infected and the people who have been vaccinated and hopefully boosted, you have a rather substantial proportion of the United States that has some degree of immunity. That's residual, either residual from prior infection, which for how long now has that been treated as if natural immunity doesn't exist, or hopefully people who are getting vaccinated and boosted. This is wildly infuriating for me. The American people were lied to, and quotes and articles like this are buried, and people still believe that anyone not getting jabbed 300 times are going to kill all the grandmas in the world. But now you have the god of all gods, the medical genius himself, Anthony Fauci, stating that the pandemic is over. We may now resume our lives. An unprecedented water shortage emergency has been declared in Southern California, affecting around 6 million people. Officials made the announcement that from June 1st, outdoor watering would be restricted to 1 day a week in areas that are dependent on the network of aqueducts known as the State Water Project. The Metro Water District of Southern California has asked residents to voluntarily cut water use across the region as well. We're requiring that these areas cut back outdoor watering to 1 day per week, but need all Southern California residents and businesses to save up to 30%. Due to the depth and duration of the current drought, MWD cannot meet normal demands in areas that depend on water from the State Water Project. They have said that they will impose fines on any local water departments that exceed water usage limits under these rules. With watering lawns cut back to 1 day a week, the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power is offering a rebate program for residents and commercial property owners to replace turf lawns with water retention features and drought-resistant plants more suited to the semi-arid climate. This will be interesting to play out. We're not going to let you use your water to keep your lawns, moist. We are going to limit that to 1 day per week and let the fires commence. Chinese officials have reported the first human infected with the H3N8 bird flu strain, which has been detected in horses, dogs, and even seals. In a statement on Tuesday, China's National Health Commission said the flu variant was found in a 4-year-old child living in Zhumadian in the Henan province. The health agency said the child started to develop a fever and other symptoms on April 5th and was admitted to a local medical facility 5 days later due to the severity of his condition. The patient lived on a farm where he frequently came into contact with chickens. Though experts say the risk of large-scale transmission is low, infections in humans can lead to viral adaptive mutations that increase the risk of rapid spreading. Medical experts have advised residents to avoid contact with sick and dead poultry and live poultry in daily life and pay close attention to their dietary hygiene as well. Henan province carried out medical observation and sampling testing on close contacts of the child, and no abnormality was found. At least that's what they say. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know anything other than that. Russia has deployed trained military dolphins at its naval base in the Black Sea, possibly to protect its fleet from an underwater attack. The United States Naval Institute reviewed satellite imagery of the naval base at Sevastopol Harbor and concluded that 2 dolphin pens were moved to the base in February at the start of Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. Russia has a history of training dolphins for military purposes, using the aquatic mammal to retrieve objects or deter enemy divers. The Sevastopol naval base is crucial for the Russian military as it sits in the southern tip of Crimea. Many of the Russian ships anchored there are potentially vulnerable to undersea attacks. The U.S. has spent at least $28 million maintaining its own troops of dolphins and sea lions, which are also trainable apparently, to potentially help with conflicts. The Sevastopol program was resurrected in 2012 by the Ukrainian Army, or Navy, I'm sorry, not Army, Navy, but the mammals fell into Russian hands after the 2014 invasion of Crimea. That's what it is. They invaded Crimea so they could get the dolphins. I'm just kidding. I'm feeling funny today. Ukraine unsuccessfully demanded the return of the animals, and the RIA Novosti reported that Moscow planned to expand the scheme. Satellite imagery from 2018 revealed Russia also used dolphins at its naval base in Tartus, Syria during the Syrian war. They are not the only, creatures that the Russian military have trained. A beluga whale spotted off the coast of Norway in 2019 was believed to be trained by the Russian Navy. Fishermen reported a beluga whale wearing strange harnesses, which may have held cameras, harassing their boats, pulling on straps and ropes from the side of the boat. That is your Thursday edition of Everything Yesterday This Morning. I am very grateful for you guys. If you enjoy these episodes, please don't hesitate to like and share and subscribe and turn on notifications and comment below and tell me how you feel about unions. You guys take care and have a wonderful Thursday.